The two of you weren't decided. My question for you, you weren't decided before this happened if he should stay in the race. How do you feel now after watching this news conference?
Relieved, and I think he should stay in.
So your opinion has changed? From not sure to he should stay in?
Yes.
Okay. And how about you? How do you feel? You weren't sure. How do you feel now?
Same. I think he's the logical choice.
He's a strong guy.
What do you think? Do you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree with that. I think what came across was that of what he is. Joe Biden is very caring about people. He's very knowledgeable and experienced, and he's not just out for himself, that he really cares about the country.
And there's no chance that you would be more confident with the Kamala Harris or your governor here, Whitmer, here in the state of Michigan.
Right. Yeah. I think Joe Biden did an excellent job.
During this news conference.
Okay, so that is a group of some established Biden voters, some people who were uncertain or perhaps had wanted Biden to step down, responding to the press conference. And look, obviously choosing, for a focus group is difficult. We don't know exactly how it goes, but we do know, according to the label, that was in Kalamazoo. So by the laws of American politics, it is valid, to be clear. But anyway, but look, those are people responding to it. And I think that in general, the response to the press conference has been from people who were already super in the tank, cautiously approving. There were a few issues, which we'll talk about, but it was not an absolute disaster like the debate was. Brian Kilmeade, even on Fox and Friends, said that Biden did fine. He also described that as the worst possible scenario for Democrats, but he acknowledged that he did fine.
The video will continue in just a moment, but first I have a message for you. TYT needs your help. Membership is vital to survival, so please go to tyt.com/team and become a member today.
Then you had people like Lawrence O'Donnell saying it was the most masterful televised foreign policy talk from a president, as good as it gets. I don't know personally what Lawrence O'Donnell has been saying about Biden and him being the nominee for the past couple of weeks, but he's obviously super on board. The head of the DNC, the chair of the DNC, I should say, said that Biden put on a master class in the press conference. Now, as I said, it wasn't all super smooth. So there were a couple of mix-ups. So at one point, he referred to Harris as Vice President Trump, which is not ideal, obviously. And he referred to Ukrainian President Zelensky as President Putin. That one he pretty quickly corrected. The Harris one I don't think was immediately corrected. And so there were a couple of those little issues, but there weren't any examples of him totally messing up his train of thought or sort of shutting down. There wasn't anything like that. And so this was considered make or break for Joe Biden. We're gonna get to the response of some politicians. It doesn't seem like this has closed the door on criticism of him, but it didn't also, I don't think it opened the door more. I think we're largely in a similar status quo, maybe a little bit better of a situation for Biden. But Mondale, what do you make of it?
Listen, I think CNN going out of their way trying to find voters to agree with this little thing that they're creating or trying to create this narrative around Biden needing to step down. I think it's because they're in a ratings war with Fox trying to get Trump viewers' eyes back on their channel. They're chasing viewership instead of journalism, and it shows because they did this all out right after the debate. They were talking to a bunch of black people looking to see if Biden lost it, and he didn't. So now they got a group of all white women in Kalamazoo, Michigan, where 53% of white women voted for Trump. This is actually proving all of their pundits that they're paying incorrect. This focus group, if they were trying to say anything, they better pay attention to the fact that, hey, whatever our pundits, whatever our professional political folk are telling us, they're getting it wrong, because these people are actually saying a population of folk where you would expect 53% to not support Biden are sitting in the room saying that, yeah, we are moving towards him even more as he continued press conference. And the more we see him, the more we hear him, the more they're supporting him.
Well, look, full disclosure, I think that we probably disagree a little bit on Biden as the nominee. Not necessarily disagree about whether we think he will be the nominee. I'm 80 to 90% sure that he will be the nominee. I am just so deeply worried about the polling and the chances for November that I would feel more comfortable with a replacement at this point. And also in defense of me, it is entirely possible that CNN and MSNBC are chasing viewers. I don't think at this point the argument can be made of me, because literally every time we talk about this, we lose subscribers. So I'm going to tell what I consider to be the truth. It has not benefited me one bit in terms of my career, but I'm going to continue to say what I think is true. But anyway, I'm also going to try to, I always want to be nuanced and I want to be fair. I'm giving my evaluation of the press conference. If I was just biased and just hated old Joe and wanted to get rid of him, then I'd be ripping him a new one. But I'm not doing that. So we're going to try to be nuanced. That said, I do want to give some other updates coming out of it. So there has not been like a flood of more people calling for him to step down, but there have been some new defections. So Representative Jim Himes, top Democrat in the House Intelligence Committee, said, "We must put forth the strongest candidate possible. I no longer believe that is Joe Biden." Representative Scott Peters said, "The stakes are high and we are on a losing course. My conscience requires me to speak up." And Representative Eric Sorensen, a freshman swing district Democrat, said, "In 2020, Joe Biden ran for president with the purpose of putting country over party. Today, I am asking him to do that again." That said, other than arguably Jim Himes, these are not senior Democrats and they're just in the House. It's not a group of like 20 Democratic senators or anything like that. Now, if we could jump ahead to graphic 7, there is anonymous plans of some sort of super friends group to come and talk to Joe Biden to try to push him out. And so supposedly the plan would involve a group of Biden's oldest and most senior Democratic colleagues. It is hoped, they say, that the team would include Chuck Schumer, Patty Murray, Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, Jim Clyburn. Jim Clyburn has been super on board with Joe Biden. Now, I think he said in the last 24 hours, well, he said, "I'm riding with Biden 9 times in a row." He did also say we have until X date to lock in who our nominee is gonna be, but he's been like 97% on board with Joe Biden. So I don't know that he's gonna be a part of any group of super friends. And I don't know, I know Cenk is still super sure and confident that he's going to step down. I feel like each passing day makes that less likely. I feel like him having gotten through the press conference without a huge issue, like he didn't fall face first over the podium or something. I just think I don't think it's super likely at this point. But there are still some people pushing for it, and we can get into like polls of what the voters think and everything. But Mondale, what do you think about the super friends group? Do you think there's going to be a group walking over to the White House?
I don't think so. If they are, they're going to have tea. Nobody's going to fight it out. If you know anything about Joe Biden, the guy is rebellious as hell, and he's gonna stay in this race. The more they tell him to step down, the more he's gonna fight, and people just got to acknowledge that. Also, let's be clear, man. If you ask Republicans before they be turned, to MAGA zombies, who was the greatest president ever, most of them would have said Ronald Reagan. Dude likely had Alzheimer's the entire time he was president. What are we talking about? We watched, and you said you're concerned about polls, and I hear that as someone who absolutely hate polls because they are horrible for the work that we do at Black Male Voter Project. Barack Obama was behind Mitt Romney at this point in the election. Hillary Clinton was ahead of Donald Trump at this point in the election. So I think people, the thing about it is we have this snapshot polls. If you look at what was going on in these past presidential elections, everybody that was leading at this point lost. Also, Barack Obama lost his first debate to Mitt Romney. JFK lost to Nixon. We watched so many people who became president lose their first debates. Ronald Reagan looked like an idiot when he was debating Jimmy Carter. I mean, like
in his defense, he is an idiot. So
touche.
Was.
You're not gonna get an argument there. So I mean, I think if we step away from what's going on and what regular voters are telling us, I think we're arguing different things. When I say argue, I'm talking about we have what the media is saying, what the pundits are saying, and what people believe to be true. And I'm thinking regular voters probably know what regular voters think more than pundits.
Okay. Well, I will say to close out this section, because it is my sworn duty to make as many people angry at me as possible. If you hate the idea, like you physically bristle at the idea of Biden being replaced, well, as of right now, I would feel more comfortable based on the polling I've seen with a replacement. It would also be very clear, not a replacement that would be my hand-chosen person. It's not gonna be AOC. It's just not gonna happen. We're not getting Jasmine Crockett or whatever. So it would be Harris. More than likely, it would be Harris who would replace him, and she seems to be polling like 2 or 3 points better than Joe Biden. But that said, I will also say to the people who think that he needs to be replaced and go many steps beyond that, as I've said a million times, I want him to be replaced as the nominee, but if he's the nominee, obviously I'm going to support him, and I am going to pray to whatever gods might exist in this universe that he wins, because the absolute worst possible thing for humanity is Donald Trump. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?